Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and yes, another good old product release has just occurred, and it is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro. Now if you're new to the channel here, welcome. If you don't already know, I'm a pretty big fan of Blackmagic cameras. I've used them ever since the production 4K years ago, and then went to the Pocket 4K and now the Pocket 6K as well, kind of running them in tandem there. And so I was really excited to see what they would announce, and after the announcement, here are my early thoughts and whether or not I'm picking one up to do some videos on. So I kind of want to work backwards here. Normally people talk about what they really like about it and then talk about what they don't like, but I kind of want to talk about the disappointments of the announcement first and what I am not too fond of. One is the body style. It is basically a chunkier version of the regular Pocket 6K, which was just a chunkier version of the Pocket 4K. And you see, size isn't a big issue here. I'm used to bigger cinema cameras, but I was really hoping that they would do a redesign to adopt the more box style that the red Komodo or the Z-Cam kind of have adopted, because that is such a perfect size to either rig up to be, you know, kind of crazy with all the accessories, or rig it down to be really small and compact. And so I really wish they would have just taken all the same, they could have released the same exact camera as the Pocket 6K and just put it in a different body style, and it would be better. Anyone who owns the Pocket series knows how much of a pain it is to get it on a gimbal, and I have a feeling that this camera is going to be that much worse. The other thing that I know other people were really hoping for was either a different sensor, maybe something full size, or a lot of people were guessing there would be an 8K sensor to kind of be in between the Pocket 6K and the Ursa Mini Pro 12K. I honestly don't care too much about that. A bigger sensor is always welcomed in my eyes, but in terms of resolution changes, I'm not really that mad about anything. All right, so let's talk about what's actually new here, because basically a handful of months after the Pocket 6K was released, which by the way originally cost $2,500, they lowered the price to $2,000, which is where you can buy it now, which makes sense because they knew they had the 6K Pro in the timeline, and so now this is coming at $2,500. And on top of what you existingly get in the 6K, what you're adding here is a tilt screen. It is not a swivel screen. It only tilts up and down. It does not come out. So I don't really think anyone's going to vlog on a camera like this anyway. So a swivel would have been nice, so I wouldn't even have to do like a top mounted monitor to see myself. But whatever, you get a tilt screen that will be helpful to adjust the menu systems at various angles and just to kind of different shooting modes. What is nice is it is a 1500 nit peak brightness HDR display, so hopefully it's going to be a much clearer, much brighter, because this screen in broad daylight is the equivalent to like a phone screen from a couple of years ago. It's pretty rough in direct daylight. You definitely needed a lens hood or something. On the top you have a spot for the optional $500 viewfinder. Now I'm a fan of EVFs. I literally made a whole video on one from Portkeys. You can check it out in the card above here. And for me, EVFs, I really like when they're like shoulder mounted and kind of off to the side of the camera. So the directly mounted on top in the middle, I don't know how often I'm gonna do kind of like this sort of thing. Again, if you have a bright enough either monitor or screen on the back, I don't see a huge use for the little top mounted EVF, but that's just my opinion. If you don't plan on rigging it up a bunch, it could be a really nice addition on top. I know some of the Canon Cine series have those as well. They added another IO port on the left-hand side. You now get 2 mini XLR ports. I don't really plug in more than the one mini XLR like I'm running now to my shotgun mic. So for me, I think it's more about like maybe a redundancy, because I am always nervous about, you know, breaking one of the fragile pins in there. So I guess I can see myself just using it as like a, oh no, this one broke, now I have a second one. But if you are running, say like an interview, and so you need to run 2 separate mics, they both have their separate phantom power. So that's really nice. And again, not something you see in this price range of Cine cameras. Now I did mention that it is the same sensor from the Pocket 6K, but now it's coming out of the box with the Gen 5 color science. Now I'm kind of confused about this. I don't know if we're gonna see a firmware update for the other cameras, but currently my Pocket 6K, you're seeing Gen 5 color science right now. It has a grade on top of that. But in DaVinci Resolve, in the beta programs, you've been able to take Gen 4 internal color science and change it to Gen 5. So it'll be nice to save that extra step in post and just kind of shoot in Gen 5 constantly. Definitely while you're monitoring in camera, that will be helpful. And probably the feature that most people are excited about are the built-in NDs. I never thought I would care about built-in NDs, but literally just today, we had to go out and I knew I was gonna want some nice depth of field, so I had to rig this ND filter onto the front of the lens, but I had to find the right step-up ring to go from 77 to 86, and then I can't use my Dream FX filter and all this stuff, right? It's so much easier when you have the NDs just kind of back here. They're basically made and calibrated for the sensor, so you shouldn't hopefully have any sort of like magenta or green shifts or any sort of weird colors going on. And it's basically a 4-position internal ND. So you get clear, 2 stops, 4 stops, and 6 stops of ND. And yeah, so you have a slightly different body. You got built-in NDs, you got 2 mini XLRs, you got a possible EVF on the top. Oh, and you have a new style battery. Instead of the Canon batteries, they're using the Sony FS750. I'm gonna put the thing, I can never remember that model number. I think after the first one in the Pocket 4K and the 6K, they got kind of nervous saying exactly, what sort of time frames you're supposed to get out of it. They said much larger battery, much longer battery lifetime. I'm not holding out too much. Honestly, I've always viewed the internal batteries on these cameras as kind of a convenience so that you can hot swap a V mount afterwards, but I personally don't rely on the internals to last very long, especially while recording to an external SSD where that's going to draw power as well. So yeah, I'm super curious. What do you guys think about this camera? Let me know down in the comments below. And I know the big question is, am I getting one? Yes, I've already put in the pre-order. And so hopefully they say they're in stock, but then B&H is like pre-order. So who knows? Blackmagic's a hit or miss. The Pocket 6K shipped super fast within a couple days, and the Pocket 4K and other cameras sometimes took months. So we'll see how this product release goes, but I'm excited at the additions. It's not quite the perfect camera, but again, we're never really gonna find that perfect camera, so it's about whatever you got is probably good enough. But if you are in the market for upgrading your camera, let me know if you plan on picking one of these up as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.